to order this meeting of the Economic Development Council Advisory Commission. Can you take roll, please, Lisa?
Chair Sixta, Commissioner Wilson,
Present.
Commissioner Valentine,
Present.
Commissioner Gish,
Present.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Present.
Commissioner Mandola.
Present.
We have the quorum.
Awesome. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by Commissioner Valentine.
Stand, please. Put your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is it not close enough to me? Sorry. Okay. Bennett, did you want to arrange and jump right down, or do we do 1 and 2 first? Okay. I'd like to approve the minutes from last meeting. I would need a motion for that.
I'll motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Minutes are approved. Consideration of public comments. Those wishing to address the commission should fill out a request form in advance. Comments from public will be restricted to items not on the agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The commission may not respond to speakers during the call to public. The commission may direct the staff to study the matter or request that the matter be placed on a future agenda. Lisa, do we have any comments?
We had no public comments.
Thank you. On to new business. Mr. Bennett?
All right, there we can hear me. Okay, so our first item is election of chair and vice chair. The Economic Development Advisory Commission needs to elect a chair and vice chair for the commission, and discussion, possible action. So we just open it up to the commission to discuss this at this point.
Sounds good.
Can I nominate Brittany to chair?
I would accept that nomination.
Nominate Tosh for vice chair.
We need a second.
Yeah, we have to do
Oh.
one and then the other.
Okay.
I second the motion.
All those in favor? Oh,
Which motion?
I
Like it-
believe, which motion are you seconding that for?
For the nomination of Brittany as chair.
Okay. Let's go ahead and vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Excellent. Sounds like that. Any of opposed? Hearing no nays. It's going to pass. And can I get a second on the table for a vice chair for Tasha O'Neill? Or I would entertain any other nominations. Ladies, that would be one of you online.
I'll second it, the nomination for Tasha O'Neill.
Excellent. Thank you, Morgan. Let's go ahead and vote on that. All those that are in favor say aye.
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 Any of those that are opposed say nay. Motion passes.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for both of your
We're going to need you louder, Bennett.
all right. So the next items up for new business, what I was hoping to do at this point, because of some time constraints for some of those that are speaking further down in the agenda. I was hoping to move those up. I would like to move, if it's okay with the commission, to have Carl go through his items first, and then after that, Sylvia has to be at an appointment. I'd like to have Sylvia do her update.
Okay, that sounds good. Mr. Cooper, we'd love to have you.
And the mic should be now fixed up there.
So this one is good. Yeah. So my name is Carl Cooper. I'm the Kingman City Attorney. I'm the person that you need to call if you have any questions regarding open meeting law, processes, procedures, anything like that that would be related to how you kind of operate. You can also definitely talk to Lisa or Bennett to get some information, or the city clerk's office. Between myself and the city clerk's office, we try and do the training for this on an annual basis. So we'll start with some open meeting law training. And basically, you are now part of a public body. I don't want to read all of this. And a public body is those people that are either elected or appointed to represent a constituency or something along that line that will be meeting on a routine, semi-routine basis. And the open meeting law applies to you folks. So it says, all meetings of any public body, being you, shall be public, and all persons so desiring shall be permitted to attend and listen. So what that means is to discuss public's business, the information that you guys either are seeing or potentially could see in your position on this commission needs to be discussed here. Yeah, there's the opportunity where a couple of you could get together and talk a little bit, but you just need to be careful about expanding that reach to the quorum. So as long as you're below a quorum, it's okay to have some of that discussion. This is a 7-member body, so your quorum is 4, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So what it does, obviously it says it protects the government and the public, or protects the public and preserves the right to participate in government, not protect the government. And like I say, it's for maintaining integrity, building a better informed citizenry, and the trust. And again, as I said earlier, you guys are now public officials, and you need to comply with these statutes and these rules and regulations. You're not quasi-judicial. There's no subcommittees with commissions, so we don't need to worry about that. The meeting, this is one that always kind of confuses folks. It's any manner that you guys can communicate information. Doesn't mean in public or in person necessarily. And we'll get to some later slides. But any point in time where you have a quorum, that's you guys meeting. You can meet and discuss non-government stuff. You can have a party, birthday party. If you meet at a restaurant, as long as you're not talking city business, you're fine. It's okay. Just don't talk city business. So, and it's again, a majority of the members of the board, which again means the quorum. A vacancy does not reduce the quorum. So this is the one that kind of gets people is, how do you meet? Well, all of these things here, email, Twitter, texting, all these various social media sites can cause you concerns. So if I'm not a Facebook person or Instagram, I don't do any of those things, but if you have a Facebook, you put a post on there, this is my position, I support this, and my plan is to vote for this idea or this thing that's going to come before us. I would suggest if you're another elected official or another appointed official, don't respond to other people's social media responses, because you can end up creating that kind of quorum that we don't want to run into. So you can personally say, yeah, I support that, say it in your head, just not in public. And that's the easiest way to avoid that. And there's no way to, not meaning to tell you that you can't utilize social media. you have the right to do as any other citizen you have the right to do. Our request would obviously try and understand that as a public official, you do represent the city and you want to maintain the proper decorum. Splintering a quorum is something where one of you says something to the other, then it goes the other way. Or if I go and I say, I'm going to communicate the plan, and I talk to each one of you individually, that would be splintering the quorum, trying to meet with everybody, but with less than a quorum present. So we try to avoid that. Sometimes there can be sharing of information, especially by staff. But again, we try to avoid discussions and the deliberations and sharing the positions of the others to try and say, okay, now I know I've got, 4 of you people are all going to work together and vote on something. We just want to avoid that. Everything should be done in public because that's what we're here for. The meeting, you have to have a minimum of 24 hours notice. That's something that staff takes care of. And every once in a while, you'll see that maybe a meeting got canceled. It's happened in the past where notice didn't go up or the notice wasn't right. It happens. Sometimes it's the wrong date, didn't put in the right place. So we try to make sure that doesn't happen, but it may happen on occasion. As well as if there's not a quorum, then we don't hold our meeting. So part of the open meeting law is a requirement for an agenda. And you say, this is all the things that are listed on the agenda. You don't prepare that, but just so you understand what's there and what needs to be dealt with on the agenda. And as we talk about the agenda, if it's not on the agenda, you don't get to talk about it at the meeting. So if there's a point, like especially on the agenda, I think there's individual commission members can do a brief report of what's happening or recent events they've attended. You get to say your piece, but don't discuss it. Oh, yeah, well, I went to that one, was great. We need to take a position on that. So always just try to relate, stay on topic of what's actually on the agenda. And as the new chairperson, you need to be really careful and keep an eye on that. Vice chair, elbow every once in a while, and staff if they need to. Usually you see me, I don't talk too much in council meetings, but when I generally do, people are just getting a little off topic. I just try to keep people steered into the right direction. This is just what I just said. If you take action on something that's not on the agenda, it doesn't count. It's null and void, and we'd have to redo it, basically. So the call to the public, as you noted earlier, you have the call to the public, and you kind of read some of the restrictions on the call to the public. That allows the folks to come up and say they want to have their say about something that you have jurisdiction over, if that's the right word for it. They get the right to come in, say their piece for however long that we determine, which is generally 3 minutes, but you don't get to respond. You don't get to have a discussion with them because it's technically that topic isn't on the agenda. So you can just sit back and listen. Then, as you noted earlier, direct staff to either themselves deal with the individual or they can put it on the agenda for a later time. The last one, this is part of the options that a commission or council has on the call to the public. This is per statute. There is one item that says you can respond to criticism. I'm a big fan of avoiding responding to criticism. The reason is they're just going to come back to the next call to the public, and you're just going to keep this dialogue happening. My suggestion has always been, unless it's something really awful, you got to have a thick skin. Just let people say their piece and move on. But if you feel you have to, that means it's the end of the call to the public. The person is not standing up here. You can make a very brief statement responding to that criticism if you feel the need. The public's right is obviously to attend, listen, videotape, tape record. They get the right to speak during the call to the public, but they do not get the right to disrupt. So if there's a problem where there's a disruption, I don't expect that to happen. And they just don't want to calm down, just recess the meeting for 5-10 minutes. Everybody cool off a little bit. If there's an absolute need, the person is super belligerent, that we can always call law enforcement if we have to, which we don't ever have to. Sanctions. So if you openly or if you knowingly violate the open meeting law, you can be removed from your position. This one is kind of it seems like a really scary one, but in reality, what happens, the Attorney General's office is not out here to try and punish you, take away your money, take away anything that could potentially happen. What they want to do is if there's an open meeting law violation, they look for education. And that's what I do. So if I notice there's something that happened, minor, major, whatever, I just try to educate the folks. Just let them, hey, this is how we need to do it. Let's avoid doing that again in the future, and we kind of move on. If the AG's office receives a complaint, generally that's the same response. So what will happen is if the AG's office receives a complaint, they notify me, and I will say, hey, this is what I did to address it, or I was not aware of it. This is how I'm going to address it. I'm going to educate the folks. Usually that makes them really happy, and we all move on. If for some reason it's something really egregious, like I say, you could be removed from your position, and if there's any litigation, if there's attorney's fees or something along that line, it's you personally that has to pay for it. I've never seen that happen. We've had a few open meeting law complaints. A majority of those were ruled that we were not in violation, but there's been a handful that say, yeah, we had a violation, but we just education, and everybody's good with it. We address it, we learn from it, and we move on. Conflict of interest, this would be the more scary issue. So a conflict of interest is if you have a personal, proprietary, or fiscal interest in an item, you need to recuse yourself from that discussion. Just don't participate. I have no idea who you work for, where your investments are, who your family is. You need to be aware of how you as an individual interact with those particular items. So if there's a concern or question, you can call and talk to me, talk to Bennett, he might be able to fill you in. But we'll sort it out. The best bet is to, once you see the agenda, think about it before. We don't want to wait till we're at the meeting. If you have a conflict, all you have to do is say, hey, I have a conflict. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to discuss. And then Lisa will have some paperwork for you to fill out, or the city clerk will have some paperwork for you to fill out to say, I conflicted off of this item. And that's all we need to worry about. And a conflict of interest is not a bad thing. It just means you know something, you're involved somewhere. And it can be, when it talks about family, I don't know if we go too detailed into family here, but family means grandparents, spouse, kids, brothers, sisters, that sort of thing. So just kind of be aware of where you're at. And you guys really shouldn't run into anything at your position that would be too serious, in my thoughts. If your business provides something to the city in the way of goods or services, the only way you can do that is through public competitive bidding. So just be aware that if there's something that's out there that you're interested in providing, that's the process you have to go through. There are times where the services requested are probably less than the threshold for the bidding process, so you might not be able to participate. So it's just one of those things you need to be kind of aware of. And this conflict of interest does apply to city employees as well. So they talk about direct interests and these remote interests, and I'm not going to go through the remote interest because it's a statutory list of probably like 13 things that kind of go into, percentages of investments, relationships, different businesses. If you have a concern, call me, we'll talk about it, and I can sort through the issues we have through the statutory remote interests. These are all the statutes that are related to it. If you ever feel like you want to have some light reading, go for it. It's all available online. My suggestion is just call me or, like, say, the clerks. So questions on open meeting law? Nope. All right. I have another presentation here that I really don't like. It's parliamentary procedures, and I don't necessarily like the PowerPoint, because this one goes a little more into, I don't do PowerPoint, so let's go slideshow. Oh, slideshow. I should have just used the mouse.
Yeah.
F5.
F5, oh. So this goes into like, kind of like Robert's Rules of Order. I don't like Robert's Rules of Order. It's overly complicated. I was talking to Brittany about that a little bit earlier. I get it, I understand. I think my biggest concern with rules of order and parliamentary procedure in this sort of environment is the chairperson, you don't get to speak until the chairperson recognizes you. So if you've got a question, you want to file a motion, make a motion, you say, you know, Madam Chairperson, I'd like to speak. Once you get recognized, you speak, you talk your piece. If there's a motion you want to make, you just say, I move to do whatever. The chair should repeat that motion, then you need to get a second. You really can only do one motion at a time, so we try and keep that in order. I'm not a big fan of looking at modifying or amending motions. It just gets overly complicated, but you can do that. So if you have a motion on the floor that's already been seconded, someone else can make a motion to amend it. It gets complicated, because then you have to vote on that motion first before you get to the primary motion. I like to avoid that unless you absolutely feel like you have to. And if you can, you just work through it.
Would you recommend just creating a new motion then versus amending in a motion?
It depends on how all the people are. I like the be courteous. You guys are up here, you're working, you're volunteering, you're not getting paid for this. Let's all be nice to each other. The best way to get something done is to work together. When you start getting upset with each other, it just doesn't make it fun. And if you're not having fun, why are you here? You want to make sure you accomplish something. So that's it for that. I'd just like to say, you're doing a great job. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of practice. Things will move along, and you'll feel much better about it. These rules can be overly complicated. I'm not the one that wrote them. These are state statutes. I know a lot of times you guys, you want to be boots on the ground, you want to get out there running, you want to, shake babies, kiss hands, you want to be doing all those good things that you feel like you should be doing. Sometimes these rules just make it difficult, and I said that on purpose. So, any questions? No? Awesome. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Yes. You guys have a fantastic day.
You too. Ms. Schaefer, would you like to give the report for retail or?
Good afternoon, and nice to meet you. I don't think we've met before, Commissioner. So today what I have is a murals presentation, just a brief one that I presented to council recently. The City of Kingman Economic Development Department has now opened the program for accepting applications. Now we have this along with our facade improvement program, so that's a good thing. Briefly, let's see, where's the arrows here? There they are. Okay. So this is the same presentation I gave to council, so I won't go over it piece by piece. But as you know, we've had a facade program that really took off, and a lot of business owners replaced their signs, painted their buildings, replaced doors, built Street Theater, placed all their windows, and the Brunswick did something similar. So now we have this other great program to add to the programs for businesses in the downtown area, and this is the murals program. And so we just launched it, and some of the benefits of murals include, an overall attraction of rundown areas or places that haven't been painted, attracts foot traffic to tourism downtown, and which means people stay longer and want to take more photos in the downtown area. And as the program grows, we'll see if it expands. This is kind of how we started out with facade also, but we're going to start in this. We have this area, I'll show you. This boundary where we have the program available to commercial, really commercially zoned buildings in this area. So third-party organizations can apply for this murals program with the consent of the property owner. So if it's a nonprofit organization that wants to do this nice painting on some wall they find, they just need to get with the property owners and ask them, basically. And then they can come talk to us, and we'll go through a whole process of review. Oops, I went the wrong way. So for this project, the maximum reimbursement is $5,000 with a minimum project cost of $1,000. So this is another matching grant program similar to our facade, which is a 90% reimbursement. So for example, for a 5,000 murals project, the applicant could be reimbursed up to $4,500. Total cost in the end is $500. So we do have $20,000 funded for this fiscal cycle, so I do encourage people to apply sooner than later for this program. I keep pushing the wrong button. So this is the types of murals we're seeking, more interactive than just images, so that we can have more people interacting. And hopefully over time, if we get enough of them up, I'm going to work with Office of Tourism and make a murals map, you know, of where the different locations are and who did them, you know. So that will be fun. And otherwise, I'm working with Monica Murphy. She's the grants administrator here in the finance department. So we're both overseeing the project if anybody has questions, but she's the one that will do the actual processing of the applications. And this information is on our website on choosekingman.com. Is it .com or .gov all of a sudden? .com, okay. So the basic review process is the application is submitted with the rendition that's proposed and the location. It's actually spelled out quite well in the program application, so I am summarizing it quite a bit here. But once the review is complete by a committee to move forward, the applicant is given a notice to proceed and has 3 months to complete the project. Once the project is completed, we'll go out and look at it, see if it meets everything that was approved in the application process, and then the applicant submits for reimbursement. And that is basically the program.
Who maintains these? If something happens, who maintains?
It would be, Commissioner, it would be the applicant that applied for the project. It is within our guidelines to have a maintenance plan as part of the submittal with the application. And another part of that is also we've asked for not only the rendition, but the types of paints, the coat that would be put over the mural to help protect it. So that is a part of the criteria for submitting the application. Any questions on the murals program? Otherwise, I'll move over to some other updates.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Anybody online? Okay, thank you. So then other things we've been working on in the retail commercial area, we do have the interactive vacant commercial and industrial map up on our Choose Kingman website as well. And this tool it took some time. We worked well with other departments like planning and zoning, IT, and engineering to get this map established. But when somebody is looking in Kingman for a property, this helps both me and the person looking to see what vacant commercial land we have in Kingman. So this particular map is not to show the sale status of a parcel, but this is where we have vacant commercial or industrial maps, so that if they're interested in one, an applicant can talk to us, the economic development team, and we can try to get them where they want to go if they're interested in certain sites. So this was another great tool that we added to our toolbox, basically. And so we have a few people using it already, so that's always a good thing. Other things I'm preparing for are some conferences. It's conference time coming soon. We'll have one in April where it's called a multi-unit franchising conference. This is the first time actually attending this one in Las Vegas. But at this conference, it's more geared to multi-unit tenants and franchisees looking to expand their franchises. As we know, a lot of the, businesses or companies we want many times are franchises. So it'll be great to connect with some of the existing franchises owner up there and see if they'd like to expand in Kingman. So that's one way we can approach attracting more retail in Kingman. The other conference is in May. Go every year. It's the International Council of Shopping Centers Conference, where it's the large retail networking conference up in Las Vegas. And so we're already working on setting up meetings and talking with companies up there as well. And they've been pretty successful. We have brought some from attending the conference, so that's always good. Let's see, what else? I made a little list so I don't forget anything. I know we've had a lot of businesses pop up in the downtown area. That's been great to keep up and visit with a lot of these businesses. And with that being said, it's great that we work with the chamber for this matter, where we can both interact with the small businesses that are opening, welcome them to the chamber for mixers or ribbon cuttings, and then I can assist with providing any services we have at the city. So that relationship is still growing really well. And what is one of the latest, newest ones? Oh, Grand Canyon Brewing Company. That's one of the latest ones that we're working with the owner on that transition. So that's a fun one too. Let's see, Bennett, can you think of anything I may be overlooking for a top highlight? I think so. Otherwise, I guess the last somewhat commercial. It's more of tourism for this matter, but really rodeos this weekend. So we work with a lot of companies also and talk with a lot of companies about the rodeo, and that brings a lot of people to town as well. But that's all I have for today. If you have any other questions that I may not have covered today. Thank you.
Can I ask a question before you run?
Yes.
The interactive property map, does that include just city property?
Yes, it is property within city limits.
Okay.
Not city owned. No.
Okay.
No.
And then,
Mhm.
does that map include the anticipated additions with the new interchanges coming in, or will that get added once those become available?
No, you're correct, Commissioner. So we have every parcel in the city of Kingman limits that is zoned commercial or industrial. So regardless of the status of, say, development on the site or future plans, it's based on the zoning that exists today. So if it's zoned commercial already, it's showing on the map.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you,
All right.
Sylvia.
I think we're jumping back to the downtown strategies review. Is that correct, Mr. Bradley?
Yes, if we could, we'll go back to new business. And under item B, downtown strategies review, let me pull up, so a few commissioners have asked staff to basically to understand better the 2019 Economic Development Plan and the commissioner's role in implementing that plan. I believe at our previous meeting on November 22nd, Commissioner Gish had requested that the commission take a look at that plan, and then we get back together and discuss it in further detail. In addition to that happening, on February 21st, the Economic Development staff presented an Economic Development Plan update to the City Council, and we provided the Council with that update on the 25 strategies and how the team is implementing those strategies over the last 4.5 years. Commissioner Gish was able to be present during that meeting, and in addition, Chairman, at the time, Chairman Sixta had watched the meeting via the internet. And based on the economic development presentation that we provided, another organization that provided an update that evening was the Main Street organization. And so Chairman Sixta wanted us to discuss the commissioner's role concerning the strategies that were around the proposed downtown streetscape project and downtown in general. And so she had asked that this item be brought and put on the agenda under new business. With some of the members being new to the commission, what I'd like to do is provide a quick overview of how the economic development plan came into be and the commissioner's role in implementing that plan. So bear with me and I'll open the presentation. Okay. So in September of 2017, an agreement for professional services with the city of Kingman and a company called Chabin Concepts, which is an economic development and marketing firm serving small communities, large communities, and businesses. We worked with, or they also work with communities to lay the groundwork for economic development departments to plan out their futures by offering a strategic roadmap for attracting, retaining, and marketing those communities. And in 2018, the economic development director was hired. That was my predecessor, Gary Kellogg. And in 2019, it was during 2018 that they started going through the process of that plan. And by January 2019, the plan had been completed, and it was presented to council on February 5th and adopted February 5th of 2019. So this was basically going through the process of creating the plan was a collaborative endeavor to identify the city of Kingman's assets and challenges, and then create those strategies, the 25 strategies that we discussed. Each strategy contained actions to be undertaken and accomplished either by the Economic Development Department or other action committees that were formed. So now that the plan was complete and adopted by City Council, it was time for our staff, the Economic Development Department, to start implementing those strategies. In addition, the Economic Development Advisory Commission was tasked with reviewing and making recommendations under those strategies outlined in the plan. So with that said, what I'd like to do is outline some of the strategies within the plan that pertain to the downtown. And in going through that, there are strategies that directly impact the downtown, and then there are some that indirectly impact the downtown. So one of the first things that we did was under strategy 1, they wanted us to adopt a vision and goals. Number 2 is establish action teams for various projects. Number 5, improve first impressions by eliminating neglected properties. 7, strategy was increase, stabilize the city's revenue by building a diversified tax base. 11, cultivate a robust economic development ecosystem that encourages local startups. And then 19 was to formalize the Main Street organization, and 24 was to identify the top 5 visitor infrastructure projects to move forward. So I want to delve into those a little bit more in regards to how they pertain to the downtown. The vision statement that was basically worked on with the commission at that time is laid out right there. And part of the end of that vision statement is to expand the tax base, redevelop the historic business district, and create a vibrant downtown. So it's really outlined in the vision statement. Under the goals, so these were the list of goals that the commission at the time worked with us on. And as you can see, one of the last goals was a thriving downtown that serves as a hub for arts, entertainment, tourism, and community activities. So the downtown was, a very important component of our economic development plan. Another one of the goals is a community where people want to live and visitors want to return. That really also pertains to a vibrant downtown. Improve first impressions by eliminating neglected properties. That was under strategy 5. Downtown areas are the heartbeat of our communities and critical indicators of more significant social and economic trends. A thriving downtown means successful businesses, engaged citizens, and cultural events and jobs. In contrast, when downtowns are neglected, it often leads to shuttered businesses and lost opportunities. So this really hits on the importance of having a vibrant downtown, and not only eliminating the neglected properties that are down there that businesses come in and they start fixing up, but it's to stop that process from happening in the future should businesses leave downtown. Increase and stabilize the city's revenue by building a diversified tax base. The direct impact of downtown revitalization on local and state economies is well documented. Investment in revitalization creates jobs, increases property values, and attracts tourists, all of which are economic benefits to the cities making those investments in their downtown. And this kind of, this is a chart taken from the Main Street site. It looked at all of its members and those investments from those members, which the City of Kingman is part of the Main Street program. That was one of our goals when we got involved, or when we did the plan, was to create a vibrant Main Street program. And so you can see the dollars reinvested in those cities from, I believe the dates on here, there were over 1,198 programs included in this report from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. So net gain in jobs, 30,402 between those all those communities. Buildings rehabilitated, 10,595. Dollars totally invested, 5.76 billion. So we're very proud to be part of Main Street and to be participating in these type of impacts. And this is this was a chart from them estimated based on cumulative statistics gathered from 1980 December 31st to December 31st, 2021 from all Main Street communities nationwide. So that's the total looking further back into there. Strategy 11, create a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem that encourages local startups. So we worked closely with the Mojave Community College to promote resources such as the opportunity to obtain associate's degree in business education, entrepreneurship, or take classes to refine the skills in Microsoft Word, Excel, and other business-related training. We promoted and encouraged the location of the college to locate their facility downtown to revitalize that building, and that did take place. We saw that as a hub for this entrepreneurial ecosystem, and then also the Kingman Chamber of Commerce was located in that facility. So with a solid entrepreneurial base, downtown Kingman will have multiple promotion opportunities and to build on and grow its identity and its unique experiences and shopping, entertainment, and destination that visitors and locals will desire to go to. Strategy 19, I mentioned that a little bit, was to formalize the Main Street organization, which was done, and that organization encourages local entrepreneurs downtown, property and downtown improvements, cultural and destination developments downtown. And the strategy 25 was identify the top items that our tourism department was going to focus on. And we've got more mentioned here because we have completed some of those items. And as we complete more, we're always looking for the next project. And so here's a list of those. The downtown streetscape project in process was listed as one of those top 5 impactful projects that we were looking to be completed one day. So with that, I hope that kind of gives you some insights into the downtown strategies in regards to the plan. And so I appreciate the time to be able to bring that before you guys. I'd like to open it up for any discussions or questions.
Excellent. Any questions from anybody for Mr. Bradley? Quiet bunch today.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you going through this. This is very helpful in your team going through and putting this information together. I wanted to kind of add some information here just to touch on what you had said a little bit. I have to read my notes.
That's okay.
So some of the things with having the vision and goals and that being part of our job as the Economic Development Advisory Commission, I do think we should have a discussion and see where we land on this project. I definitely think that from looking at the strategy guide that it would be in our favor to support this. So I'm going to make a motion and I'm going to throw it out there and we're going to see what happens. So I'd like to make the following motion. Considering our economic development vision statement and goals and strategies 1, 2, 5, 7, 11, 19, and 25 from the 2019 Economic Development Strategy Guide that was approved by the City Council, we, the Economic Development Advisory Commission, advise and recommend that the council move forward with the Beale Street Streetscape project as designed. Yes, I've made a motion. It would need a second to go forward or possibly additional discussion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All those not in favor, say nay.
Hey,
Anyone abstaining? All right, I think that motion is going to pass.
All right, I would next, under new business, in those discussions with the, around the economic development plan and having the commission participate more and understand that plan in more depth. I had talked with Chairman Sixta at the time about the potential for a work session with the commission. And so I just wanted to put that on the agenda, open it up for discussion to see if the commission would like to work with staff. We would coordinate a work session between now and our next commission meeting to create an agenda, go through the plan, and have a work session on that.
So I'm going to join on that. I agree with this being a good idea. I think that's going to help educate better across all 25 strategies. I know that economic development staff have completed quite a few of those strategies as the strategy guide was put out before the city of Kingman even had an economic development department. And I think that gives you the opportunity to kind of remove what's already been done, push together what needs to be combined, and then add anything that would push us forward for the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments on that item?
I agree. I think it's a good idea to have a work session. I would appreciate being part of that.
Thank you, Mary. I don't know how to move this one forward.
Well, I think under the same auspice, if you want to make a motion to have a work session and then coordinate that with staff.
Okay, but we don't have to have a specific date?
No, we would get back with you as the chair to coordinate a date with the whole commission. So we'd follow up.
I will motion then to have ED staff plan a master plan work session to be held between this meeting and the next one.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Oh, sorry. All those opposed, say nay. The motion passes. So we will coordinate to get that, some dates picked so we can get everybody when they're available.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to that. I appreciate you guys considering that. We're going to jump down to item B, and I wanted to talk with the commission about two other reports that were provided to the city council recently. So let me bring those up.
We should have provided you with water today.
Oh, I do have some. I'm going to be talking a while, I think. Thank you. Glad I'm not coughing. So this is a really condensed version of those two reports. So I wanted you to be able to hear what we were working on at the time. So the City of Kingman Economic Development, we use business retention and expansion surveys to evaluate, understand, and report regional businesses and workforce opportunities and any issues around those. The diagnostic tool allows our policymakers to apply those limited economic development resources for maximum impact to those items that are being brought up. So our main objective is to enhance relationships with existing businesses by opening up the lines of communication and helping those businesses with their workforce, training, financial assistance, and potential state incentive programs, and resolving any issues or concerns. We want our local companies to know that we're invested in their economic well-being. And in addition, if their businesses have an expansion plan, we're here to assist them through that process with the growth while retaining the company in this case, which was the Kingman Industrial Park. We went out and we surveyed 25 companies in the airport and the industrial parks. These 25 companies employed roughly 600 employees, and the interviews were conducted over a 5 to 6 month period. The type of questions that we asked the companies were around their background, their ownership, the year they were established, primary market, employee totals, facility information, whether or not the property was in good condition, if it would need to be improved, any plans they would have to expand, whether or not they were offering new services to our new products, their market share, where did their market share sit? We evaluated their workforce, the community as a strength to do business, the barriers of growth within the community. Where do we need to improve? Total company sales, top 5 industry serves, and then we put forth some recommendations and findings at the end of that. It is a long report with a lot of graphs, and some of the recommendations and findings that we looked at was the potential for public transportation to the industrial park, improve the marketability of the current industrial park land, complete the phase 2 of the industrial park, which is a 700-acre conditions of land release that we're working through the process with the FAA on. And then workforce housing options came up as something that they felt was a need in the community. I'm going to jump now to the economic impact portion of that report. So as a whole, we looked at about 82 businesses out there that employ roughly 2,673 employees. The indirect jobs and the direct jobs created from those businesses increased that number to 3,604. So the indirect jobs are just by these 2,673 people working, they go out in the community and they spend their wages, and then that creates other jobs throughout the community. And so that's that difference between the 2,673 and the 3,604. That becomes a 1.47 employment magnifier. So for about every 2 full-time jobs added out at the industrial park and the airport, an additional job was supported throughout Arizona or the community. The total economic impact from these businesses into the region is $751 million. So that's pretty impressive. Both of these reports can be found on our website in great detail. We do carry an extensive catalog of different documents. What you would do is you would go to choosekingman.com. Under the About Us section, it says Organizational Materials. You can click on the various document that you'd like to take a look and research. Our economic development plan from 2019 is on there, in addition to these 2 new documents. The 2000 and what I would call the 2022 Business Retention Expansion Report, and the 2022 Kingman Airport and Industrial Economic Impact Analysis. So with that, open it up for any questions.
That is impressive. Appreciate your team taking time to work on that. Do you plan to survey other sectors of the city, or is this just pertain to, will this kind of reporting just continue to retain to the industrial park?
That's a good question. We definitely would consider other sectors within the city, maybe the city limits. And in the past, there had been some business retention expansion surveys done on the retail side. I think the last one was done in 2010, so it's been some time, or even the hospitality side with the hotels and whatnot. I think that, this document, to put this together, took place over a 5-month period to interview 25 businesses. It's quite a lot of time invested, and then you got to get the business's time, and business's time is very important. So I think that it can be done. We would probably look for doing some training with some folks to assist us, and so we can cast a little bit larger net than 25 businesses in that type of a report.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Bradley? I think you're off the hook.
Well, I appreciate questions. So in going down the next item, unfortunately, Josh has come down with a little bit of a stomach flu, and so he's been out since yesterday. He did send me, we were hoping he'd be back today. Unfortunately, he was not able to get back. So he did send me a few items that he would like me to just talk to you, the commission about. So I have that here. So in regards to tourism, we've been assisting with more film and media projects in Kingman. We're collaborating with the Arizona Office of Film and Digital Media to make Kingman a film-ready community. And we're working with the city clerk to develop the Kingman film permit process to better coordinate with the film crews. So we are working on that. We've also begun redesigning the tourism website, www.explorекingman.com, and we started that process in January of this year. The new website will incorporate Google Places profiles into our attractions and business. We'll also be updating the imagery and the capability of the users to build their own itineraries. So tourism is also working with a local author who has written books on four-wheel drive trails with the goal to develop a series of UTV and hiking trail guides. These will be posted on our new website once it's created and distributed at the visitor center and with our hotel partners. We've also obviously been preparing for some upcoming events, hosting meetings for the Route 66 Fun Run, the Route 66 Street Drags, and the Route 66 Fest. So with that, that's what Josh wished that I would convey to the commission. If you do have any questions, if I don't have the answer to it, I'll be sure to follow up with you guys. Yes, Dan.
Like a time frame on that website, a time frame when that website will be up and completed?
Great. I just speaking from experience, Dan, they will usually be 3 months or less. So if they start in January, the hope would probably be April, May, but I could for sure.
So it'll be up for the summer months. That's good.
Yeah, that would be my best guess. Appreciate that question.
Awesome. I would just wanted to say on the trail maps that I've seen a mock-up of what Josh is working on. They look very nice. I think that tourism will benefit from that, but I also think that for those that might be listening online, they are going to be a nice addition for our community. A lot of people don't know where some of these different things, such as the hot springs, are in our area, and it creates a nice opportunity for the community as well.
Absolutely, I agree. If anybody was downtown this past weekend, there was a group in town that they were hosting a Jeep event, and there were some restaurants that were entirely full with patrons, all driving their various Jeeps parked out. I believe the future electric experience parking lot was full entirely with Jeeps. So very important that we have those type of events here. It does bring in a lot of people visiting our community and seeing what we have to offer and spending money here locally.
I agree completely.
All right, any other questions on the tourism side? About online, any questions? Okay, at this point, if I know we've been having some internet issues, but if Doug Breckenridge is on the line, we've got Doug Breckenridge, our airport manager, who, if he's here, there he is, yep, he's here. So,
I am here.
Doug, if you don't mind, it's time for you to give a little bit of a report. Thank you.
Sure. Really want to hit up on 3 items that are coming out of the airport. First one is the draw sites. I know this has been a project the city has been really working on for better part of a decade. What this will ultimately do is allow us to clean up a aluminum dross on the very southern end of the airport and basically redo the entire southern airport ramp. And this will very much help the airport in stances of growth. We have parcels on that southern side of the airfield that company has been hesitant to go after and develop due to the dross ramp that could damage their customer aircraft or their aircraft coming in. Can't go into too much detail with the current process. It's still in kind of litigation phase, but all information that I've been receiving has been extremely positive, and we are very much looking forward within the next month or two of hearing some very positive output from that project and having that moving forward. The other project is the industrial park expansion land release. We're kind of changing up the phrase of this to the industrial park expansion just to allow better delineation, a little bit better information out there under first name of what it is. We are currently in the actual master development phase, has been going on for a couple of months, so just giving you a little bit update on that. We have been working with our consultants, who is Kaufman Associates, and a lot of their sub-consultants, CNS Engineering, J.E. Fuller, AECom, and we're providing them a lot of information for them to basically develop and get an idea of what our current industrial park usage is, sewage amount information, the amount of water that certain industries use in our current industrial park, their high points are basically times a day in which they use the most amount of water, and we're supplying that information to them. At the same time, some of those other individuals in CNS have already been reaching out to Bennett regarding marketing programs, have been reaching out to our technical advisory committee members from both the city and the county to get a little bit additional information on county ordinances, street structures, layout plans, zoning information. So they're still gathering a lot of that information. They're starting to put it into their respective expertise sections to start really getting this moving forward, which it has been. And we have been seeing a lot of forward progress. And hopefully here in the next month or so, we'll be reaching out to our technical advisory commission again and just reviewing with them what we've already done and seek their input. The other item is back in December, we have a piece of property that's about 2.16 acres on the airport with a 3,500 square foot hangar on there. We've had multiple businesses that reached out to us that were interested in that hangar. So we put out an RFP, a request for proposals. And this RFP was structured where if a business is interested, then they will type us up a little packet basically explaining who they are, what their company is, what additional benefits that they could provide to the airport, what they wish to use the hangar for, and then also their minimum annual amount of lease they're willing to pay. So when we pushed that out back in December, we did not receive any proposals back. So we went back out there, reached out to a lot of these companies that were interested. Some of them basically came back and they said, look, we're interested, but we just found out we were unable to make that move. Others said they've asked us if we could streamline our request for proposal process. So we went back, we kind of reviewed it, and we're going to go a next route. We're hoping to publish this updated RFP next month, and we're going with more of an application process. We're hoping that will be a little bit easier for a lot of these companies to where they could just go in, check off boxes, state, are they going to use it for commercial or private use, what business they're going to have in there, and any improvements. So with that information, that feedback that we've received from other companies, we're taking that information, creating an application, and we're going to apply it to this hangar and this section of parcel. And if everything goes good, then this may be something that we do in the future with other sections and other parcels. But that's the three big items. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just wondering if you could briefly cover, I think a lot of the general public doesn't know or understand how when monies come in with a land lease there at the airport, how that money is then processed and or what it's used for. Could you briefly touch on that?
Okay, yeah, I'll be happy to. When it comes to the airport, it is a enterprise fund. Um, the US government actually owned the land, for the World War II base. And under an agreement with the city and, or really county at the time, they said, we'll give you the land along with the airport, but any revenue that is generated on the land must go back to the airport to make it self-sustaining. Also, one of those grant requirements that came through is if you don't have any land that's released from federal obligations on the airport, then any items on that land, such as buildings, infrastructure, you can't sell the land. Any buildings, infrastructure must revert back to the airport after a certain amount of years. And the airport's supposed to lease those properties, those buildings, after a company says we no longer want to be participants or work at the airport, or their property reverts back to the airport, must come to the airport, and all that money stays with the airport and helps it make it self-sustaining. That is one big thing that you hear in the aviation and with airports, is making airports self-sustaining. So these properties, such as 4800 Flight Line Drive, leasing those, all those funds come to the airport, must be used for the airport purposes, and just makes it to where we could actually, where we turn a profit, we do not have to use city general funds. We're completely self-sustaining. On the other side, with the industrial park land release, expansion land release, what that does is it releases that 700 acres south of the airport from all federal obligations, and that gives us, the city, the ability to sell that land to companies that meet city criteria, city requirements. The land that is sold there must be given back to the airport to be used for either operation, maintenance, or large capital projects, which, if you kind of look at our annual revenue of around 1.7 to $2 million, selling a piece of land that's worth, let's say, $300,000-$400,000 will actually is very beneficial to the airport, and it also covers our airport shares when it comes to large projects, where we either have to pick up 10% of $1 million project, or we have to pick up 4% of a $14 million project. It helps the airport be self-sustaining.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Any other questions for Doug? All right, appreciate you jumping on the call, Doug. Thank you very much. So that really completes our agenda. We would move on to number 5 then at this point.
All right, do we have any announcements by council members or commissioners? Mr. Valentine? O'Neill? Ms. Morgan?
None from me.
And is Ms. Mendoza still on? Okay. I just have a couple of things briefly. One of the items I know that Mary had was they have developed some business classes through MCC that are kind of continuing education for customer service and for business supervisors. That is opportunity for different businesses to take advantage of that with their frontline workers.
Appreciate that. I think that we also, they've sent us that flyer, and we do distribute that to businesses in the event they're interested in that.
And then I think things going on in tourism between now and then would be the fun run and the rodeo. So definitely come out and support those things within our community. If there's no other comments, then we will adjourn.
A motion?
I will motion to adjourn. If you guys don't want to leave, that's fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.